Okay, part 2 of the Jason Bohn, Danielle Thomas situation. So we're sitting here at the kitchen table discussing this case, and go ahead and introduce again real quick.
I'm Elena.
I'm Mom.
And I don't have a saying right now. I want to get straight to the drink.
Oh.
All right, so this is what? What's
Prosecco with Starburst, the Starburst flavor of your choice.
And then you let it kind of dissolve
Melt
a little bit.
And Mom and Sherry have cherry, and I have strawberry.
All right,
Look at
taste
it changing
test.
the color.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really neat. That's not bad. No, that's actually really good.
Thank you, Sherry.
You're welcome. All right, I'm gonna have to say,
What's the name of it?
Prosecco with Starburst.
It doesn't have a fancy name.
I don't know. There may be one.
all right, so how do you rate it?
3.
At 3. But you have to remember, my bubbly is not a Prosecco.
Yeah,
Well, mine is. I'm saying 3.
I'm gonna say 3.
Okay.
All right, the 3
Now-
say 3.
Yeah. And just know, I mean, they're still going to dissolve.
Yes, yes.
I'll wait a bit.
Probably get sweeter as we go.
I think so.
Okay, so where we left off in the last episode was, the 911 call goes out. They don't respond to the call. And then the next day, Danielle is found in the bathtub. Now, I want to get into the suspect just a little bit, which is Jason Bohn. I mean, we all know he's the one that did it. He's been convicted. But how they try to frame his defense and, all of those details, I do want to get into a little bit. Okay, so the police, they need to find him at this point, because is he the one that did this, or is he also dead? They don't know. They just know that he's supposed to be there at the apartment. That's his house or his home. She's there. He's not. What's going on? So hours.
But her body also had a fan on it.
Yeah.
And she had ice. So keep that in mind.
I mean,
too.
they pretty much thought it was him, but they have to investigate.
Right.
They can't just,
And it was a 12-hour difference, wasn't it?
Exactly.
So he might have been, like you said, setting the alibi up.
Yeah. Or running. Give them time,
true.
buy them time.
That's right.
They found some surveillance at a Rite Aid hours after her death, after beating her to death, where Bohn was purchasing cleaning supplies and ice. Bohn also used Danielle's BlackBerry phone and sent texts as if from her that she was walking the dog and hadn't seen Bohn. He texted that everything's okay and that Bohn stayed the night at a friend's house. So obviously, he's trying to preserve the body,
right,
keep the death smell under control, create an alibi. So to me, he was going to run. He was either, if he couldn't get out of it, which I think he might have figured out there was just too much evidence against him, because again, he wasn't dumb. He was an intelligent person. But like we say, criminals, they're not smart. They're just lucky. This case, he is actually an intelligent person, but again, he kept going back and forth in how he would do things, and it's confusing.
Well, he set it all up. Premeditation. That's not insane.
I don't think killing her was necessarily premeditation, actually.
Making an alibi.
Well, I think he's probably wanted to kill her multiple times,
right,
and then he finally did. But whether he decided that day and, used the dog to get her there, I don't know. I couldn't find any evidence, but it wouldn't surprise me. So he sends the text messages. He buys himself some time. He then left New York. He drove through New Jersey, ended up in Chicago. Surveillance got him at an ATM in Washington, D.C. But again, this is where things get weird, and I have not been able to figure it out. His lawyer said that he wasn't trying to flee the crime scene because he wrote a note admitting he killed her. And he did.
Oh, he wrote a note?
The note,
he was setting up his own alibi?
The note was cradled in Danielle's arm in the bathtub.
Cradled in her arm.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It was an accident. It was an accident. It was an accident. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if between the time he did that, like if he was trying to set up an accident defense, which is stupid. He beat her face in, or it's a weird thing. So if you take the note, then it can't be he was trying to buy himself some time, because he literally put a note on her body that he did it and it was an accident. So I'm wondering if it was to preserve the body. It just is weird. I can't figure it out.
But his actions before, like he changed his mind, could have been he set up an alibi after the fact.
But then he realized there is no way.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to flee 100%.
Okay. They also learned that the phone tip that came in about domestic violence at the apartment, which led to the discovery of her body, was from him.
If it was done at the apartment, though, they couldn't trace that phone to that apartment?
Well, cell.
I don't know.
It's probably a cell.
But so he called. He's the one that left the tip.
Oh.
What?
Why?
I don't know. That's why I'm
He
saying.
wasn't of sound mind.
I can't figure it out.
Why would you leave a tip like that?
He called
Again, to set up an alibi.
I don't know. He called 2 days after the murder for police to check on her because they had fought.
Maybe a
As
time.
himself?
The time. Oh, as himself? He called as himself?
I don't know. I don't know if he said what his name was. He just, I'm assuming he did because he said they fought. And he wanted the police to check on her.
Wow.
Yeah. See what I mean? It's
When I
weird.
think it's one way, then something else is said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he's
Fleeing
not-
alibi.
Yeah. So you have fleeing, an alibi, yet
And
you call in the
accidents.
tip, you leave the note.
Well, alibi, fleeing. Like, I still think that he's trying to do both.
But how
But
can
the
he do
note,
both?
though.
Because the note he admitted
I
and
know.
he called in to the
To do a
tip.
safety. That's just.
No, I feel like he's going back and forth. Like he's trying to set
decide
up an
what he
alibi
wants to do?
and then flee. Yeah. Maybe.
I think he was for sure trying to get away.
Right.
And not get arrested. But whether it was to be away forever, I don't know, because he actually didn't run that
Did
far.
he leave? How far did he go?
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Now here's one thought I did have. I wondered if he was buying time, if he was hoping his mother would get him out of the country. That's what I'm wondering.
She probably would have.
I don't know. I don't know if she would have.
She's a millionaire.
I wouldn't have.
But his
I
lawyer,
wouldn't have.
his lawyer went on to say that he was contemplating suicide. That's why it took him so long to.
Well, then why didn't he
hear
just
that
do
a
it?
lot.
Yeah, they all say that.
Yeah, I think to me, he's so narcissistic that I think he was hoping his mother would get him out of the country. That's what I think. But we don't know for sure. Then, on top of that, so he does all these strange activities. Then he left a message for his ex-girlfriend saying, "I'm in serious trouble. Danielle and I went out together on Saturday night. We both got intoxicated, had a disagreement, and I blacked out, and Daniel is dead." He also sent an email to his mother.
He's like all over the place.
I blacked out. But yet,
He knew all the
he
other
can write.
details, and he wrote the note.
Right.
So he sends this to his mother, and he says, "Dear Mom, I sincerely apologize for missing our dinner this evening. Additionally, I no longer have access to my phone. In fact, I am or will be in a lot of trouble, and as a result, I am currently on the run. I have worked hard to get my life in order, but my past, unresolved psychological and emotional issues has come back to haunt me. I'll make this brief and to the point. There was an accident on Saturday night. Danny and I got into an argument at an event a friend of mine was hosting. I went home drunk and she stayed out. When Danny got home, she woke me from my drunken coma, and the fight continued. It got physical, but I don't remember anything. I completely blacked out. I woke up the next morning to find her unconscious and not breathing. I panicked and fled the city. I need your help. I'm begging you to please retain an attorney for me as soon as possible. I can't use the internet long, as I'm sure law enforcement can trace the IP address, so I will wrap it up for now. I will follow up with you tomorrow once I've had an opportunity to purchase a disposable prepaid phone. I haven't stopped crying. Oh, poor baby.
Yeah.
or started eating, I was going to propose to Danny, sad face. I have thought about taking my life many times, and it still may come to that. Know that I love you dearly, and I'm sorry for all the trouble I've caused. Your firstborn.
Well, that's
So-
manipulative.
He's blaming her in many situations, but right off the bat, he apologizes for missing their dinner.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And then the pity party.
Yeah.
And so her
Manipulation.
response was, I will get you a lawyer. You have to turn yourself in.
It's interesting
Okay.
she doesn't say, love you, Mom. She signed it
Well,
by her name.
That will come to light pretty
Wow.
quick. Police also discovered that Bohn had repeatedly and violently threatened Danielle and accused her of repeated lies and broken promises. He suspected her of getting in touch with an ex-boyfriend, and Bohn was afraid she was leaving him. Even the morning of the night they went out for drinks, Bohn was accusing Danielle of this ex-boyfriend, leading to arguments.
You know, it's just interesting that after the beating, she called him to meet for drinks.
That's what we're saying. That's why
It's
we're
just
doing these
crazy.
cases.
Yeah.
People don't typically think you're going to get murdered.
No.
So they don't take things seriously. Like, who thinks your Wall Street lawyer boyfriend is going to kill you?
I know a lot of people probably think that they should know, but remember I told the story when my relative came to visit and robbed us and all sorts of stuff. Because if you don't think like that, you don't see it coming. Because you don't think like those people that are like that.
But I think if you have someone that's beating the hell out of you,
Yeah.
that should be a good indicator.
To get
Because at the
out.
very least, that's a person who has no control over their emotions. Actually, they don't want control over their emotions.
No, because if they did, they wouldn't continue to do it.
Right. Well, they found Bohn eating dinner with his mother and lawyer.
Oh, good.
That's how they found him? Good. By a tip
So
or
he
what?
got that meal in.
nice.
Good for him.
He was arrested and charged with murder, and his mother paid for his legal fees.
And I guarantee it wasn't McDonald's.
No.
No, they were at a restaurant.
Right.
Okay, so he's now arrested, and he is discussing Danielle, okay?
Oh, this recording of that?
She was ambitious. She was fun-loving. She liked to travel, and she wasn't afraid to, engage in risky activity, swimming with sharks.
But you felt like you couldn't trust her.
Yeah, I really wanted to, but I think my insecurity had just wouldn't let me.
Not a tier one.
During her tenure,
Oops.
she played a key
Whoa.
role in establishing the country.
And why?
Goodness.
Why didn't he trust her? She gave no reason not to trust her.
Right. There was no reason to not trust her. And, but yeah, there was no emotion. And I'm insecure. So you beat her head in because you're insecure.
Because you're insecure.
Yeah. He obviously doesn't want to take responsibility for what he did.
Didn't in the mother's letter he say something about the demon, not the demon, those aren't exact words, are coming out from his past?
I don't know. He might have.
Yeah, so wonder what was in his past.
Well, we're going to get into that. So
That's so fake right there.
I'm not
That
quite
picture.
sure if Bohn knew that this had happened, but as he was killing Danielle, she pocket dialed her phone and called one of her coworkers that they had been visiting with, and then the murder was recorded in a voicemail.
Oh.
So you can hear Bohn calmly speaking, explaining to Danielle that he's going to kill her. Danielle was strangled repeatedly. She begged him to stop, told him she was not dating her ex. She kept telling him that she loved him. He would let up, she'd say something, and then he'd start strangling her again. He also beat her viciously. The attack lasted 60 minutes
Oh, boy.
after the initial 911 call that the police didn't respond to. So he was torturing
That's
her.
torture.
This isn't like an act of rage or, a blind jealousy where he's killing her. He wants to make her suffer. And that's a sadist. That's a psychopath. And I was watching a 48 Hours last night. It was the same thing. This lady was dating a corrections officer at Rikers, and she finally got away, and she had to go by their house. I don't remember if it's to get some things. And he shot her 10 times. She lived.
She lived?
But she said this wasn't a quick, he shot me. He would shoot me and then torment her and then shoot her again, like in the arm and in the leg. This reminds me of that. So this isn't some type of deal where, you know, he was lost in his rage. He very calmly did it. So they have the transcript. I couldn't find the audio because, you know, they don't release all of it. But she kept saying, Jason, I love you. You need help, is what she would say. And then you could hear her screaming and choking. Please, I need an answer. Why did you call that number? And then she said, I love you. Why did you call? I didn't. So what? So what happened? I can't breathe. Help me, Jason. Danielle, you have got to. How does it feel? You have to. One more time, and I'm just going to go out. Why did you call? Hoarse breath. She shrieked, I love you. No, he kept asking her that. He was hoarse. He said, I love you when he was shrieking. Why did you call that number? She said, I didn't. Help me. So tell me what happened. I don't know. Okay. You don't know? You don't know? I believe that. I believe that. And then he howls. And then she said, I love you. And Danielle, why did you call that number? You have 5 seconds. And then I'm going to kill you. And then she couldn't talk. And then he said, why did you call that number? And she said, I didn't. Can you honestly tell me? She said, you're my partner. I pledge. He howls again. And then says, Jason, come on. This is all your fault, God, to himself. And then Danielle said, my partner might have called you. And then like something about Andrew's partner or somebody. I know it, Jason, help me. And then he's like, Danielle, your phone, why? The dog barking in the background. Then he says, there's like 7 seconds of silence. And then he said, you have 5 seconds. I'm going to let you up. And then you need to answer quickly or else you die. Why did you call the number? Why did you call? Danielle, you know by this time you're so stupid. You think I'm going to stop? I won't stop. Why did you call the number? Danielle, I'm going to ask you, why did you call the number? Now at this point, she's not able to even know. Like he kept asking her that and she's like, what number? And he said the 508 and then she couldn't say anything. He said, you have no idea. And then she kept telling him that she loves him. And then he said, excuse me, Danielle, you're going to have to listen to me quickly. And she said, I'm choking. He said, because this is your life. She said, I know. Why did you call 508? She said, I didn't. I swear to you. And he kept asking. She said, I love you, Jason. And he said, Danielle, you don't have a lot of time. And she said, I didn't do it. And then she said, I can't breathe. He said, how does it feel? I'll get you one quickie. Why did you call that number? And she said, I didn't. And then he said, Danielle, why? Danielle, I can't hurt you anymore. Why did you call? She kept trying to say it. She said, Jason, I love you. Why did you call? I found it in a book. Why did you? I don't know who that is. And then you don't know? And she said, like New Orleans? Like she literally doesn't know what number he is talking about.
He may not either. He may have just saw a random number in her phone.
So the friend that got the voicemail and then one that also the girl that said you probably shouldn't go back home that night, she was going to get her dog and then she was going to leave. Bohn snatched her phone from her hand when she entered the apartment, saw the number, didn't recognize it, and began accusing Danielle of cheating on him. At 3:20 a.m., that number was dialed post the 911 call, so she must have had time to call 911. He snatched the phone, and then the friend's number was dialed, and that's what recorded the voicemail. Oh. So her murder was recorded. But that number, if I'm not mistaken, was the coworkers that they saw at the night where they were, at the bar.
But wouldn't you think she would lie? I mean, I guess you're not thinking when you're getting murdered, but I would have said anything to appease him.
But,
well, I don't know.
Don't voicemails stop recording at 2.5 minutes?
They might. I don't know, but they got all of that.
It could have been a 2 minute. It was just reading it?
Well, it was silent for 7.
Oh.
So I'm not sure, but they got him red-handed. They hear him murdering.
Wow.
Yeah.
They also found a text message that Bohn sent a friend 30 minutes after killing her, where he told his friend, "I just wanted her out of my life. She's been nothing but trouble."
So it only recorded the strangulation, not the beating? So the beating must have
Well,
been
the beating was
before.
a different time.
No,
No.
the head damage and
Head
whatnot.
damage.
Oh, probably. I mean, to me, he
That's just
strangles her,
torture.
and then it gets recorded. So I'm wondering if maybe he was beating her before he decided to strangle her.
Yeah.
Could be. That's,
The
Wow.
voicemail was used in court, obviously.
Right.
It was vicious, and they charged him with first-degree murder. So the defense was trying to say that he blacked out, he didn't mean to kill her, and they're like, no, we have the voicemail, and he's on there very calmly saying, you have 5 seconds to live. So it wasn't this rage and blah blah. He's
Yeah.
very methodical. However, he would like moan or he would howl
yeah,
out.
what's with the howling?
I don't know.
That's sort of bizarre.
I don't know. Sounds like demons.
That's what I was. Yeah, possession.
From the start, Bohn again claims he doesn't remember murdering her, but that he does remember arguing and grabbing her wrist and maybe even pushing her, which is a typical response because they'll minimize their role in it. He said, waking up and my head was spinning. I was still in my clothes. I went to the bedroom. She was unconscious. I picked her up and ran her to the bathroom, stripped off her clothes and ran cold water on her and tried to revive her. He said that he began to realize he must have killed her, and then he started crying hysterically. That's when he left the message for his ex-girlfriend and the email for his mother. He also smoked weed before preserving her body and leaving the apartment.
Trying to calm down.
Wow.
A Dr. Alexander Sasha Barty, which is a Harvard-educated forensic psychiatrist and consultant for Law and Order SVU.
Great show.
Yeah. Spent 6 to 7 hours with Bohn on 3 separate sessions. He was hired by the defense, and they also wanted his expert testimony to Bohn's, quote, serious mental illness. Dr. Barty concluded that Bohn suffered from intermittent explosive disorder, a mental illness with bouts of loss of control and anger and violence. He said, I described him as the Hulk. I mean, this is a metaphor, and the metaphor is for someone who is 1 minute calm and rational, and then because of some trigger, turns into an angry monster.
Okay.
That'll never work.
Well,
I mean, it happens with serial killers, anyone that kills.
right.
I mean, they don't...
So intermittent explosive disorder, back in my day,
Right.
that was just someone that has an anger problem
Got
and
mad.
is a wimp that beats his, wife or
Yeah.
his girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's like they create so many different diagnoses to just fit bad behavior,
Yeah.
evil,
Yep.
sinning.
They have to have a
Yep.
reason.
Yeah, and they're
That's-
trying to get them off. I mean, obviously that's their job, but you keep putting all these people in boxes of diagnoses. Before you know it, no one's going to go to jail.
Yeah.
It's like it's happening and you're just watching.
Yeah.
I've heard that saying a lot, or that comment a lot.
Yeah, so I can see things like that. This is not that.
No.
He is a crappy, person who beat her because he was insanely jealous, insecure, had rejection problems. He was definitely a nerd, and he had mommy issues. And so for me, it's like, why are you trying to say there was a reason behind this other than the fact that he chose to murder
Yes.
this girl?
Correct.
Right.
That's exactly what he did.
And torture. Don't forget the torture.
Yeah,
And not
tortured
just
her.
that day. I'm sure it was going on.
Exactly. He has a history of beating her.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if he had any other girlfriends or was she the first one?
That's
Did
what
they
I
not-
was wondering about the ex-girlfriend. It's like, was there any history there?
I don't think it's in my notes, so I'm not sure what his past romantic life was.
To go to a killer, he had to have a past of some kind. With
I don't know.
violence.
I mean, if that was his first serious girlfriend, maybe not.
Well,
He was a nerd.
yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
he went to college. He's a lawyer. I find it hard to believe that'd be his
I
first
don't.
serious.
I mean, look at him. Just kidding. Okay. The
You mean
source.
with the fake tears there?
The doctors were saying that the source of this mental.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no
Mm-hmm.
tears. He looks horrible.
He's eating well.
Yes, in prison. Yeah, he
How
gained
come
some
they
weight.
always do? They always gain weight in prison.
Ramen noodles, I've heard. For real.
Oh,
Or ramen noodles, however the heck you want to say
Ramen.
them. I say
Ramen.
ramen. I'm from
Because when you
Texas.
see him later,
oh, I am too, but I don't say Raymond.
Carry on.
pictures of
Carry on.
people, they're huge.
Yeah.
Now, the source, according to the doctor of his mental illness, was Bohn was abandoned as a child.
Who wasn't?
And the threat
Right. I've had it, man.
Okay.
and the threat of Danielle leaving was a trigger. He says that the trauma began with Bohn's mother. His mother was a pregnant teenager living in the Bronx when she married Bohn's father and then had another child, Bohn's brother. But his mother wasn't interested in domestic life. She kicked their father out, and the father wasn't any better. He was abusive. She probably had good reasons for kicking him out, but what she did next is beyond comprehension. Okay, so this is him. Let me see if I can find that picture. This is him as a kiddo. And even that looks creepy to me. From 3 to 9, his mother began to disengage from her sons. At some point, Bohn went to live with his grandmother, who might have been schizophrenic. That was the doctor's opinion, though. Couldn't find any proof of that, but he was concerned that she might have been. Bohn told the doctor that she would talk to herself and peed on the floor regularly.
Well, that's a sign.
The doctor's trying to
Yeah.
obviously tie,
Yeah.
mental illness in the family. He said, and how do we know that's true?
Right.
I would want to know what the brother says.
Right.
If the brother saw that.
Yeah.
He said that there were, quote, imaginary people that she dealt with. When he turned 9, the mother remarried and at this point completely severed ties with both of her boys. She wanted to put them in a group home, but instead, Bohn was sent to live with his father in Miami. And then this is how he described life with his father. He put my hand on the stove because I told him I turned the stove off and it wasn't turned off. Another time he was drunk, brought out his shotgun, so I ran. Bohn says that he called his mother for help and that I was telling her that my father was beating me. And she said, just stick it out. Once things settle down, I'm going to take custody of you.
Wow.
But his mother was never going to bring Jason to live with her. Instead, she found an apartment to rent in Westchester for Jason to live again with his grandmother. I was, hanging out with the bad kids, stealing stuff, and just angry that I wasn't going to live with my mother. His grandmother moved to an assisted living facility. At 14 years, Jason was living alone until the authorities got involved. Court papers were filed. Jason was a neglected child left alone without adequate food to sustain him, so they charged the mom with neglect and abandonment, and then he
Excellent.
became a
Good.
ward of the state.
Excellent.
Good.
Once the charges were filed, the mother then submitted papers of her own, now get this, describing Jason as verbally abusive, that he brought knives to school, and that she requested he be placed with social services.
Yep.
Bohn spent the rest of his childhood in group homes, and his rage grew. Okay, so at first I'm like, what a piece of work, this mother, right?
Right.
But here's the deal. You see this all the time. You got a kid that's a
Yep.
psychopath from the
Dangerous.
beginning,
Yes.
no conscience and dangerous. She may not have known what to do with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she had 2.
Right.
And she did to both of them.
Yeah. She gave up both kids, but it doesn't go into the brother's history.
Right.
And that was pretty sorry. I think there's like a combination. I think that she wanted a career. She
Yeah.
wanted, she didn't want the domestic life. She didn't want any of that. She was very ambitious. I think that part sucks. Maybe you should take birth control, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Did they-
that was irresponsible, but was he dangerous from the time he is little?
Well, I don't know. Does the brother, he ever testify?
I've never found anything about the brother.
I wonder if he's still alive.
Records show that the homes where he was kept, they repeatedly documented efforts to engage the mother in Jason's treatment, but she refused to be involved. She said that she was too busy with her work and that she can't be a part of anything having to do with her son.
Now, she sounds crazy.
I think she's a psychopath too.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, you just leave your kids and don't want to have anything to do with them, and you don't want to
Don't
take
help
any
them?
part
No.
in helping them. So to me, maybe the apple didn't fall too far
Fall far.
from the tree.
And
Fall
the
far from
grandmother,
the
was
tree.
that her mother?
Oh, I don't know.
The grandmother was a schizophrenic.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Well, according to him.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Now, Jason knew all this. He knew that his mother didn't want to have anything to do with him or his help. Now, my question again, was he always difficult? Was he a killer in the making? I don't know, but either way, she felt incapable of taking care of him. Plus, I think she was a poop
and she
bird
chose.
mother
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
doesn't deserve the title. Now, eventually, Bohn met with Dr. John Piacenti, who had also overcome a rough childhood. So he's in the home, he's getting treatment, and he meets this doctor, and he encouraged Jason to get his GED and then go to college. That's when Bohn got a scholarship to Columbia,
Wow.
the Ivy League, and that's when he became a Wall Street lawyer. But the anger was still there. And again, when the relationship with Danielle soured, Bohn lost it and killed her in a rage. So that's what they're saying, that, he had such a rough time. He had a mother that didn't want him. He was angry, and that Danielle was an accomplished woman like his mother, and it was like this whole thing was replaying again. Now, you guys know me.
Come on.
I know that the brain can associate stuff weirdly. It's like I just had a mentoring client this week where his wife wants to move. He's been kind of dragging his feet. And then in the course of discussions, we learned that when he moved to where he's living now, it was a disaster. His former wife, who passed away, gave up her little girl to move with him, and he didn't know it. And so she gave her to the ex-husband. Yeah.
He
And
didn't know?
He had no idea. She shows up, and he's like, "Where's your daughter?" And she said, "Oh, I gave him custody. She's staying with him." Well, he has lived with shame for 40 plus years. He never wanted that. And he was in over his head, but he never wanted her to get rid of her daughter. And so, the brain, that was so traumatic. It was now associating this move with that.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I can get that.
There's
but
a line.
this is crap.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wonder if
just because she's ambitious.
I wonder in college if they don't have any reports in being violent or anything.
I thought
Because it's
there
just
was
all there's
something where
nothing, and then you go
Yeah,
to
and just
torture and murder.
historically, there's also typically issues in group homes as well. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I think
just
he did stab somebody in a group home.
I'm sure.
If I'm not mistaken, or threatened with a knife. I thought I had it in my notes,
Which
but I'm not
she
seeing
mentioned
it.
knives.
Yeah. Now, obviously here he is. He kills her. But again, he enjoyed torturing her. Intermittent explosive disorder. It's been in psychiatric manuals for 30 years. I had no idea. 3 doctors, including one for the prosecution, said he suffered from it. So all of the doctors agreed.
But still, you still have a responsibility. You still have choices to make. You can still get help.
Well, and not only that, but the only thing they're trying to do is minimize his sentence because he was sane. He covered up the crime and he ran. So the legal definition is he didn't know what he did was wrong. The fact that he covered it and tried to preserve the body, opened the window so it wouldn't start smelling, tells everyone he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Okay, they said that over the years, Jason Bohn exhibited some deeply violent and disturbing behavior. It ranged from choking girlfriends to flying off the handle at people over insignificant things. There was an incident where a friend of his put his feet on his table and he became so intensely angry about it that his pupil took over his eye and went completely black.
Oh, my word.
One of his friends even recalled a time when he talked to him about his mother, and he would suddenly go from being this nice guy into like Jekyll and Hyde. Now, the defense also pointed out that he had several relationships before Danielle, but he didn't kill them. So I guess he did have romantic relationships. The defense said that proved their point, and that Danielle was a, quote, deeper, more profound relationship, according to Dr. Barty, And another point the doctor makes is after Bohn and Danielle started dating, his mother came back into his life at that time.
Which is a trigger.
That's a huge trigger.
Yeah. Why did she come back? Do you know?
Out of the blue.
Just came back.
Yeah. And offered to help Danielle with her career.
Well,
Yep.
that's interesting.
So again, I can see the triggers,
Absolutely.
but not torturing your girlfriend to
No.
death. It's almost like all the anger he felt, he just took it
Yep.
out on her. She just
Yep.
happened to be the one that was at the end when the volcano
He
exploded.
probably wished it would have been his mother.
Maybe.
Yeah.
She apologized for what happened in his childhood when she came back into his life. And then Bohn was like a mixture of emotions. He was happy she was back, but he was also really angry.
Yeah.
And that anger reignited. The doctor believes that his rage was actually toward his mother, not Danielle, leading to her murder. The prosecutor said it didn't matter if he suffered
Right.
from mental illness,
No.
but if he was sane during the time of the murder, that's what mattered. The calm and cool way he killed Danielle proved he wasn't insane, and the jury agreed that he tortured her and that he enjoyed killing her.
Yeah.
He was found guilty, sentenced to life without parole, and his mother never attended the trial.
Not once. Mm-mm. But
I
she
probably wouldn't have.
testified. Yeah.
So this is New York, yes?
Yeah.
Do they not have the death penalty?
No.
Oh, they don't?
Should have been in Texas.
Right. He'd probably be dead at this point.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Now, during the impact statements, the grandmother and mother talked about how 3 weeks before he murdered her, her mother asked what she would say if he had proposed to her. So the mom asked Danielle and the grandma, like, what are you going to say if he proposes? And she got a big smile on her face and said, I'd accept.
Wow.
Jason addressed the court. Danny and I were best friends that planned to marry. Nana and Mom were my adopted family. Then he turned to Danielle's mother and grandmother. Nana and Mom, I don't know what to say. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. I don't know how this happened, he said in tears.
So he addressed her mother and grandmother by Mom and Nana. Wow. I would have lost my,
Wow.
Right.
oh my word.
Yep.
He doesn't know what happened.
And then when he was being led away, he was saying, I'm so sorry. I love you.
Wow.
And the grandmother felt that he meant it.
Oh,
Okay.
boy.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
And then the mother said he showed remorse, I think, for the first time today.
No, he doesn't have remorse.
No. And that right there. So that's where I get agitated,
That's
is what I'm
where-
talking
yeah.
about. Danielle was raised by two women who sound like strong women, but also very kind.
Yeah.
You've got to equip your child to be smart, to be rude when they need to be rude, because her example of what it meant to be a good person and a Christian actually made her, just susceptible to
Yeah.
what occurred.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, when Kent started dating, his wife, he'd never seen conflict. Like, me and Mike, we hardly fight at all. And when he was growing up, I think like 20 years went by before,
Right.
or no, 15, before he ever even saw a fight, I think. And so he didn't know how to deal with conflict. So I had to teach him to deal with conflict, but I should have equipped him before, he snuck out one night and I'm all, where have you been? And then it's because they had gotten in a fight and he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle being uncomfortable and there being a rift between the two. So I had to coach him on that. So that's the thing. It's like, definitely raise your children to be kind and raise them to be, smart and accomplished and all that. But give them street smarts, right?
Right.
Okay. Now her mother wore the dress that she bought to the funeral. So the one that she bought for the trip to see his mom, she
That's
wore that
weird.
to the funeral.
That's weird.
And then they're also suing the NYPD for not responding to the 911 call.
Good.
Oh, good.
Now, did the mom go to the funeral? His mother?
I don't know. Probably not.
I wouldn't
Okay.
think so.
Man, the dogs sure
Who would
are
want
active
her
back
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want her there.
No.
Okay.
But she was pretty a psychopath. I mean, would probably think nothing of showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here are my thoughts.
Yes.
I believe he was controlling. I believe
Agree.
he love bombed her.
Agree.
I believe he was abusive probably from the start.
Agreed.
Is what I'm thinking. I think it's from the start.
I don't think so. I think it was when the mom came into the picture.
Oh, good point.
I don't know.
It's hard to tell.
I mean, you don't just turn abusive. So he had to at least have some mental and emotional and controlling factors, because that's abuse too. You know what I mean?
The physical aspect, I believe, started after the mother, personally.
Yeah, maybe. Danielle wanted to change him, and her Christian faith gave her a false sense of feeling that she could. We're supposed to welcome people. We're supposed to be loving, but it doesn't mean that you stay with someone that's abusive and violent. I think she realized that she had to get out, but her love for her dog led to a really bad choice that night. And wisdom would have been to get the police to escort you to the apartment and get your dog, that way.
Yeah.
I also believe that Jason's a liar. I do believe he was abused and abandoned, but there are many people that are, and they don't kill their girlfriends.
And torture.
Right, and leave her naked in a bathtub.
Yeah.
Humiliate her.
I don't buy the mental illness aspect. I think he was full of rage. Danielle was a possession, and when he realized he was about to lose her, he killed her.
Yeah.
I believe he was extremely jealous because he's an insecure poop bird. And then, get this. This is what he dictated as a message for his brother to post on Facebook while he was in the psych ward after he killed her. Okay? Shakespeare couldn't have written a sadder romantic tragedy. I suspected she was a cheater. At the very least, I gradually confirmed she was a compulsive liar, particularly with regard to relations with the opposite sex, both past and present. As a result, I grew insecure and abusive.
It was her.
In hindsight, one of us should have walked away, but I was already madly in love with her. I was also extremely mad, both meanings. The night in question, in all honesty, it was an accident. In short, I was heavily intoxicated under a great deal of stress and completely blacked out. I woke up the next morning in complete shock. My knuckles were bruised badly and she was on the floor unconscious. Without a doubt, she was the love of my life. And in the end, I don't have enough emotional capital left for a trial and years behind bars. I miss her so much. Currently housed at the Bellevue Mental Hospital prison ward, I alternate between crying uncontrollably in my cell while I stare at her office building from my window to fighting with other inmates over food. As some of you may already know, I was institutionalized as an abused and abandoned child. Clearly, despite all my hard work, I never recovered. I'm not going through that again. Thank you for being my friends. My very heartfelt sorry to all the people I hurt over the years, especially her and her family and friends. God bless. Please pray for me.
Now that pisses me off.
He didn't work at anything. There was no proof he went and got help for anything.
Guys, his knuckles were bruised.
Why would he put that on there? First of all, but
manipulation.
Yes.
But you know the sad part, even if she'd have left, he'd have never left her alone.
No.
People like that never until one of them dies.
Here's how we know it's not mental illness. He's still really angry. Is he throws her under the bus.
Again.
In that message, after she's dead, it's all about I. And I grew into this angry person because she was a compulsive liar.
Yeah, because of her.
And she wasn't going out on him.
No, and
That
that's
was
the sad
all
part.
in his head.
And it was still in his head even when he was in the hospital.
Yep. So he had no responsibility taken whatsoever.
The God bless part pisses me off.
And please pray for me.
Yeah, that God bless thing, I had to deal with that once before, and I took everything I had. My mouth opened, and I was about to say, I don't need you to tell me, God bless me. God blesses me. I don't need it from you. That's special.
Yeah.
I wonder if his mother has ever visited him, and I'd be surprised.
Doubt it.
Probably not.
I wouldn't.
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was a final torture, a final vengeful act while he was there. And he wasn't sorry for anything. And if his family ever listens to this podcast, I highly doubt it. But if they do, they need to know he was not sorry for anything he did.
No.
Also, I wonder if like the physical part that he commented on, the bruised knuckles, was kind of a brag.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's why it made me
Sounds
mad.
like
That part was what made me mad, because you instantly get a mental visual, right, of that. And so that would be torture to her family and to her friends. And so to me, it was just another way to just punch her in the face.
And how hard he was hitting that poor thing to be
bruise
so
his
bruised.
knuckles. Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't remember anything.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So this is why I was so angry, but also why I wanted to do this one, because there's so
Absolutely.
much in it that if people will pay attention, then they can be safe.
But some people, even if they know to get out, they just don't.
Yeah. All right.
Be rude.
Not yet, Mother. Not yet.
All right. Sorry, Sherry. I just
Be safe.
be rude.
No.
Stay safe.
Oh my gosh, Lane, how could you not know?
Oh, really? Just protect yourselves, okay, people? What is it? Stay smart. Be smart.
It's be smart.
Be
Okay,
smart.
Pause.
safe.
Everyone that's listening to this, I want you to write into me, okay? So I want you to go to our Instagram page, Outline of a Murder, or I want you to go to our Facebook page, Outline of a Murder, or I want you to go to our website, outlineofamurderpodcast.com. And I want you guys to tell me what you think that after 3 years of doing this podcast, they cannot remember 2 words. Be smart.
Be smart.
Be
Be
rude.
rude. I'm so sorry.
Where's yours? You didn't say yours.
Don't be a victim.
Okay, then.
All right.
Outline of a Murder is a Mr. Joseph production. What do you think, Joseph?